We're talking about the behemoths today, the amplifiers that drew so much current they dimmed the lights in your house, that made electricians scratch their heads and audiophiles salivate. These weren't just powerful, they were power-hungry monsters that often demanded their own dedicated circuits. And the last two on this list? Well, let's just say they redefined high fidelity right before they redefined electrical fire hazard. Number 4. The Carver M1.5T Magnetic Field Amplifier. You'd see it sitting there, usually in a rack, all business with its almost industrial-looking brushed aluminum faceplate, those big, reassuring heat sinks ribbed like a radiator on the sides, and a pair of meters that looked like they belonged in an airplane cockpit, glowing a warm, amber hue. It was a visual promise of what was to come, sheer, unadulterated power. Bob Carver, a man legendary for his ability to defy conventional audio engineering wisdom, introduced this marvel in 1981. He'd already made waves with earlier designs, but the M1.5T was something else entirely. It was rated at 350 watts per channel into 8 ohms, and a mind-bending 500 watts into 4 ohms. Numbers that, even today, make most receivers look like toys. But the real magic wasn't just in the wattage, it was in how Carver achieved it. He pioneered what he called the magnetic field power supply. Traditional amplifiers used enormous, heavy toroidal transformers and huge banks of capacitors to store and deliver power. Carver's innovation was to dynamically vary the power supply voltage based on the audio signal's demands. This meant the amplifier wasn't constantly drawing maximum current, but only when needed, making it theoretically more efficient and allowing for a much smaller, lighter design than its competitors with similar output. You could pick it up, and it wouldn't break your back like some of the other power amps of the era. People loved it because it delivered incredible dynamic range, the ability to reproduce the sudden peaks in music with startling clarity and impact, without ever sounding strained. It could drive even the most demanding, power-hungry speakers to ear-bleeding levels without breaking a sweat, all while remaining surprisingly cool to the touch thanks to its clever power supply. For anyone who owned a pair of those notoriously inefficient electrostatic or planar magnetic speakers, the M1.5T was a godsend. It offered a level of clean power that few other amps could match, all at a price that, while not cheap, was significantly less than some of its equally potent, but far heavier, rivals. It democratized extreme power. The sound was characterized by an almost effortless authority, a feeling that no matter how complex or demanding the music, the Carver simply shrugged and delivered. It gave rise to the phrase, Carver clean, referring to its remarkably low distortion figures even at very high output. Its glowing meters, often set to display peak power, would dance wildly during crescendos, a silent testament to the raw energy being pumped into the room. It was a statement piece, an engineering marvel, and for many, the ultimate power amplifier for their home stereo system, a true king of the late 20th century audiophile landscape. The Carver M1.5T vanished from the market in 1988, not because of a flaw in its design or a sudden lack of power, but because the market for dedicated, ultra-high-power stereo amplifiers was slowly being eclipsed by the rise of multi-channel home theater systems. Its specific, two-channel niche was shrinking. The next one was in half the living rooms in America, and it still died. Number 3. The Phase Linear 700B. This amplifier wasn't just a piece of audio equipment, it was a statement. When you first encountered a 700B, usually racked in a serious hi-fi setup, the sheer visual impact was undeniable. It was a monolithic slab of brushed aluminum, wide and deep, often with the Phase Linear logo prominently displayed. But what really caught the eye were those two enormous, glowing peak-reading VU meters on the front. They were mesmerizing, their needles sweeping with the dynamics of the music, often hitting the red with exhilarating force, providing a visual representation of the immense power coursing through its circuits. Released in 1975 as an evolution of the original 700, the 700B improved on an already legendary design. It boasted a jaw-dropping 350 watts per channel into 8 ohms, a figure that, in the mid-70s, was almost unheard of for a consumer-grade amplifier. This wasn't just loud, this was, rearrange your furniture, loud. The sound was often described as authoritative, with an incredible sense of dynamic headroom. It could take even the most demanding musical passages, from cannon blasts in Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture to the thundering bass of a progressive rock band, and reproduce them with an effortless ease that left lesser amplifiers gasping for air. People loved the 700B precisely because it offered this seemingly limitless power, allowing their speakers to truly sing, unconstrained by amplifier clipping or distortion. It was designed by Bob Carver, before he founded Carver Corporation, making it one of his early, iconic contributions to high-fidelity audio. The 700B was known for its robust construction, weighing in at a substantial 45 pounds, a testament to its massive power supply and heavy-duty components. The back panel was adorned with enormous heat sinks, necessary to dissipate the considerable heat generated by such an immense output. Connecting it to your speakers felt like you were hooking up to a power plant, not a stereo. It had a reputation for driving any speaker, no matter how inefficient or complex its impedance curve, with absolute aplomb. This was particularly appealing to owners of demanding speakers like the Magnepan MGIs or early generations of Infinity speakers, which often needed massive current to truly come alive. For those who wanted to experience music at realistic concert levels in their living rooms, the 700B was often the only choice. It became a symbol of extreme audiophile ambition, a centerpiece around which entire high-end systems were built. Its legacy is tied to the era of power wars in audio, where bigger numbers on the spec sheet translated directly into bragging rights and a more visceral listening experience. It made you feel the music, not just hear it. There was a sense of raw, untamed force emanating from the unit, even when it was idling, a hum of anticipation that promised an unparalleled listening experience. The phase linear 700B was discontinued in 1983. Its demise was not due to a lack of power or consumer demand, but rather a string of widely publicized reliability issues, specifically prone to overheating and output transistor failures, earning it the unfortunate nickname, Flame Linear, among some disgruntled owners. Number 2. The Crown DC300A. You'd probably first see one of these in a professional setting, a recording studio, a radio station, or powering a PA system in a club. But then, you'd start noticing them in serious home audio setups, tucked into a rack, its sturdy, no-nonsense front panel a stark contrast to some of the flashier consumer amps. There were no flashy lights, just a couple of robust level controls, input jacks, and maybe a power switch. It was built like a tank, with a heavy-gauge steel chassis, and radiating a functional aesthetic that simply screamed reliable. Introduced in 1971, the DC300A was a beast, delivering a conservative 150 watts per channel into 8 ohms, or a massive 300 watts into a bridged mono configuration. While those numbers might not seem astronomical by today's standards, for its time, especially in a professional context, it was groundbreaking. This wasn't just about raw watts, it was about unwavering, clean power delivered across the entire audio spectrum, designed for continuous duty cycles. People loved the DC300A because it was, above all else, incredibly robust and reliable. It was built to endure the rigors of professional use, which translated directly into decades of trouble-free operation in a home hi-fi system. If you wanted an amplifier that simply worked, day in and day out, delivering pristine audio without fuss, the DC300A was it. Its sound was often described as neutral and transparent, precisely what studio engineers needed, an amplifier that wouldn't color the sound, allowing them to hear exactly what was on the recording. It gained a legendary status among audiophiles for its bulletproof construction and its ability to drive virtually any speaker with effortless authority. It didn't have the flashy meters of a phase linear, nor the innovative power supply of a Carver, but it had an understated confidence that appealed to those who valued substance over style. Many audiophiles, frustrated with the temperamental nature of some other high-power amps, turned to the DC300A for its sheer dependability. It was heavy, a solid 60 pounds, indicating the serious iron in its power supply, a massive toroidal transformer and large filter capacitors ensuring stable, abundant current delivery. The back panel was simple, with professional-grade XLR inputs and hefty binding posts for speaker connections, reinforcing its pro-audio pedigree. Its thermal management was excellent, with large internal heat sinks that allowed it to run cool even under sustained heavy loads. The DC300A was the definition of an iron fist in a velvet glove amplifier, immense power, but delivered with precision and neutrality. Its longevity in the market, with several revisions and upgrades over the years, is a testament to its fundamental soundness of design. It didn't try to reinvent the wheel, it just built the best wool possible, a workhorse that consistently outperformed its published specifications and simply refused to die. It became a benchmark for clean, uncolored power in both professional and home audio environments. The Crown DC300A was finally phased out in the late 1990s, not due to any inherent flaw or lack of performance, but because the original transistors it relied on became obsolete, and redesigning for modern components would have fundamentally changed the amp's character and cost, rendering it a new product in all but name. Number 1. The Marantz Esotec SM8. Now, if you were deep in the audiophile trenches in the early 1980s, you might have caught a glimpse of this amplifier, and if you did, it probably burned an image into your memory. The Esotec SM8 wasn't just an amplifier, it was a sculpture, a statement piece. It was wide, deep, and imposing, with a substantial faceplate crafted from thick, brushed aluminum, often with a subtle champagne tint. But what truly set it apart were those massive, finned heat sinks that dominated the sides, looking like the gills of some futuristic deep-sea creature. When powered on, the soft glow of a small indicator light, usually a deep amber or red, hinted at the immense power simmering within. This was not an amplifier for the faint of heart, or for the casual listener. Introduced in 1981 as part of Marantz's ultra-premium Esotec line, the SM8 was a pure Class A monoblock amplifier. That means you needed 2 of them for stereo. And each one delivered a hefty 150 watts into 8 ohms. Now, for those unfamiliar, Class A operation is the holy grail for many audiophiles. Unlike more common Class A/B designs, a Class A amplifier keeps its output transistors constantly conducting, even when no signal is present. This eliminates crossover distortion and results in an incredibly pure, linear, and utterly transparent sound. The downside? Immense heat generation and colossal power consumption, even at idle. This is why the SM8 had those gigantic heat sinks. They weren't for show, they were absolutely critical for dissipating the heat of its constant, full-current operation. People loved the SM8 for its absolutely pristine, tube-like sound quality, but with solid-state power and control. It had an uncanny ability to resolve the most minute details in a recording, creating an expansive, three-dimensional soundstage that few other amplifiers could match. The bass was deep, articulate, and perfectly controlled, while the mid-range was liquid and natural, and the treble extended and airy without ever sounding harsh. It was an amplifier that simply vanished from the sound chain, letting the music speak for itself. Owning a pair of SM8s was the ultimate flex for a serious audiophile in the early 80s. Not only did they sound phenomenal, but their sheer presence in a listening room was a declaration of commitment to the pursuit of audio perfection. Each one weighed nearly 55 pounds, making a stereo pair a formidable 110 pounds of pure, uncompromising audio engineering. The power consumption of a single SM8 at idle was immense, often drawing hundreds of watts even when just sitting there, not playing music. A pair could easily tax a standard 20-amp circuit, often leading dedicated audiophiles to install separate, high-current lines directly from their home's breaker panel. The warmth radiating from those heat sinks wasn't just heat, it was the warmth of dedication, of a design pushed to its absolute limits for the sake of sonic purity. It wasn't just about making sound, it was about revealing every nuance, every texture, every breath of the performance with an almost startling realism. This amplifier didn't just play music, it illuminated it, presenting a window into the recording that was both breathtaking and deeply intimate. The Marantz Esotec SM8 was discontinued in 1985. It didn't fail due to design flaws or lack of sonic prowess, it simply became commercially unsustainable. The incredibly high manufacturing cost due to its robust Class A design, combined with its astronomical power consumption in an era of rising energy costs, meant that its market was exceedingly niche, making it an economically unfeasible product to continue producing in quantity. The pattern behind all these vanishing acts is clear. They were pushing the boundaries of what was possible,